Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Kassandra and I'm going to take you through this ooey gooey flexibility flow. This is an intermediate level practice with no props required, and you can join me starting in Child's Pose Balasana. This is a full body flexibility practice. We're going to work on hips, hamstrings, getting into our shoulders and our spine, our chest a little bit. So Balasana, a great way to stretch out through our hips, big toes together, knees apart, and just melt head and chest down on the mat. And you can begin by taking some deep breaths in and out through your nose, trying to relax your arms. And breathe all the way down into your low belly and your lower back. Using this first pose to notice where there might be tension. We're still sliding our shoulder blades down the back, not compressing or shortening our necks. And we'll ease our way into a tabletop pose, so you can bring your knees in a little bit so they're underneath your hips. Spread the fingertips wide. Cat and cow. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, reverse that motion. Really articulating through the spine. Just keep going through both poses, flowing with your breath. Letting the head fully drop whenever you round. And trying to even stretch through the chest, through the upper back. So it's not only our lower back that we're targeting through these two poses. And now give yourself a little bit more space so that you can lower down onto your belly, widen your hands, and find a little variation of cobra here. So I am using my arms to lift myself up, but I'm also trying to engage my back muscles. Lower down, and we'll do it just one more time. Push into the tops of the feet. Inhale, lift up. You don't need to come all the way. Having your feet wider can make this more comfortable for your lower back. And exhale to release. We're going to press back onto hands and knees and send your hips all the way back as if you were coming into child's pose, but then inhale, articulate through the spine and find a little variation of cobra. So we're going to go weaving in and out from a variation of child's pose to a variation of cobra pose. And it's almost as if you're doing cat and cow as you're moving in and out. I like to do this with my toes curled under. You don't need to have them like this. So inhale, rippling forward, finding a back bend, bending the elbows a little bit here. And exhale, rounding through the spine, pressing your hips as far back as they'll go. And back into our tabletop pose. Tuck the toes under, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Widen your feet towards the edges of your mat, so give yourself more space in downward dog, and just begin to stretch out through your hamstrings so you can bend a little bit through your knees, reaching your chest towards your thighs. Relax your head, relax your neck. Walk your hands towards the back of the mat. Turn your heels in, toes out. We're going to ease our way into Malasana, our yogi squat. I like to use my elbows to push the knees open, hands at the heart. Think of lengthening your spine in this pose and pressing your shoulders down. So almost as if you could grow taller here. And then we'll find our ragdoll fold. So the first big forward fold, you can absolutely keep your knees bent like what I'm doing here, and maybe just sway a little bit side to side, grabbing a hold of your upper arms, relaxing your neck, relaxing your head, letting gravity do the work for you here. Gently make your way back to downward facing dog with your feet hip width distance apart this time, so the more traditional variation of the pose. Let's extend our right leg up towards the sky, bend your knee, open up your hip. Big stretch here, and you can trace some circles with that right knee. I know for me this always makes my hip click a little bit, but really good to get everything unstuck. And then we'll step our right foot forward to the outer edge of the right hand. So both palms and arms are to the inside of that right leg. I like to come up on some fists just to be a little bit easier on my wrists. You can drop your back knee down to the mat, lift the front toes up and roll to the outer edge of that right foot. And if flexibility allows, you can come deeper into the pose by lowering onto your forearms. So a deeper variation of this dragon pose, or sometimes called lizard or gecko. So a very deep hip opener. Coming back up onto the hands, add a twist and a quad stretch. So your right hand is going to reach to grab a hold of your left foot. Keep melting the hips forward and down. Little bit of a spinal rotation as you roll that right shoulder back and work on pulling that heel in a little closer to your seat. Carefully release the hold of that back foot. Skandasana, we're coming into our side lunge. So pivot so that you have your right knee bent, left leg is straight, and then extend your arms out. So really opening through your chest, and maybe you want to stay here, or instead you can bring your hands prayer at the heart, just like we did in our yogi squat. And we'll transition over to the second side. So again, it's up to you what you want to do with your arms. You can either open them up, or you can have prayer hands using your elbows to push that knee open a little bit more. Just try to sink your hips down nice and low, really getting into our hamstrings. And we'll press up. We're coming into warrior two. So front leg bends into that right knee, left leg is straight, open up through your arms. Reverse, left hand down, right arm up. Straighten your front leg. Let's move into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Think of rolling that left shoulder back as if you were leaning against the wall behind you. Pushing the feet into the floor, come up and just narrow your stance a little bit and frame your hips so they're facing forward. We'll come into our pyramid pose. So folding down. And I like to just let my upper body relax in this pose. You can definitely have a bit of a bend in your knees if the hamstrings are feeling quite tight. Take another breath in here. Three-legged dog. Re-extend that right leg all the way up. Bend your knees. See if you can get it up a little higher. We're coming into our pigeon pose from here. So right knee aligns behind the right wrist. Square off the hips and find a little back bend first before we go into the traditional variation of pigeon. See if you can lift up through your heart, crawling the fingertips back. And maybe you want to stay here, or if you'd like, you can fold on down. As much as possible, we're trying not to lean on one hip more than the other. Soften through your belly, your upper back, your neck, your arms. Big stretch into that right glute and right hip. Another breath or so here in the pose. And very carefully ease your way out. Downward facing dog. Take your time to get there. Make any little movements and adjustments that feel good. And we'll go to the second side. Left leg rises. Bend your left knee. Open up that hip. And maybe trace those big circles with your hip. Almost imagining you're drawing a circle with your left knee. So getting that full range of motion before going into our dragon pose, our lizard pose. So left foot to the outer edge of your left hand. Make sure you have your knee stacked on top of your ankle. And from here, that back knee can come down. You can curl the left toes up and roll to the outer edge of your left foot, either staying up on your hands or coming down on the forearms if you'd like to really intensify this pose. Make sure you're not holding your breath even as we stretch here. I know some of these poses can be intense, so we want to support ourselves with the breath. If you were on your forearms, come back up onto the hands and you can add your quad stretch and your twist. So reaching back with that left hand, grabbing a hold of your right foot. No tension in your jaw. And you can release the hold of that foot. We're coming into Skandasana, our side lunge. So your left knee stays bent and you pivot so that you're on that right heel. I'm going to begin by opening the arms out. If you'd like, you can instead have your hands out in front of you, or you can do prayer hands at the heart, using your elbow to push that left knee open. And we'll go over to the other side. Right knee is bent, left leg is straight. Maybe expanding those arms, working on rolling that left shoulder back. A little bit of a balancing act here as you bring your hands to the heart. And you need strong legs to transition from here into warrior two. So this time our left leg, left knee is bent, opening out through the arms, really bending our left knee directly over that second and third toe. Nothing changes in the legs. Reverse with the arms. Right hand down, left arm up. Straighten your left leg and let this carry you through into triangle pose. Left arm down, right arm up. Roll that right shoulder back. Roll your right hip back. Don't worry about how far down you're getting your left hand. Press the feet into the floor to come all the way up. We're coming into our pyramid pose. So bring that back foot in a little bit, square off your hips, and fold on down. I like to just let my head hang heavy here. I'm letting my spine round a little bit, making this a bit more of a passive forward fold. And you can bend a little bit more into that front leg, into your knee, finding your three-legged dog. Left leg goes all the way up and back. Bend your knee, open up your hip into pigeon pose on the second side. So lining up that left knee with our left wrist. And you can kind of scooch that back leg so that you're squaring off both hips. Find a back bend first. So really expand and broaden through your chest. You can do this with the support of your arms and your hands. And then maintain the length you created even as you fold forward. And we're in pigeon pose for a good 10 breaths. So just notice what you can relax a little more. Sometimes when the poses get a little bit intense, I know for me, I'll clench my jaw or I'll clench through my hands or my shoulders. So try to breathe a little bit more relaxation into those areas. Letting gravity do the work for you. And very carefully walk the hands back, lift yourself back up into your downward facing dog. This is our last downward dog. So take up some space, stretch everything out here. And go ahead and lower, just come to take a seat so you can sit cross-legged if that works for you. You're going to interlace your hands and bring them towards your right hip on the right side of your waist. We're going to do a little bit of a neck release, and then go ahead and drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. So we're looking to stretch the left side of our neck and into the top of our left shoulder. You can play a little bit with the angle of your chin here. It will change the sensation of the pose. And we'll go and do the same thing to the other side. So you can move your hands interlaced over towards the left side of your hip and left side of your waist, and drop left ear to left shoulder. You really might not be dropping the head too far here. This can be a pretty intense stretch. Try not to round or slouch forward as you do this. And releasing. Let's do eagle arms. Right arm wraps under the left either once or twice. Shoulders down, elbows up, and tuck your chin to your chest. Keep moving your hands away from your head. We're looking to stretch through the upper back here. Stay lifted up tall. And go ahead and lift your elbows up, look up, and we'll release. Second side, left arm under the right, binding once or twice. Shoulders down, elbows up, hands away from the face, tuck your chin to your chest. Kind of thinking of pushing our forearms towards one another. Lift the elbows up, lift the gaze up, and go ahead and release the arms. You can release your bind, opening up. And I'm just kind of lifting my chest here. Little counter pose might feel good. Releasing your hands to your knees. Let's just close. Instead of doing Shavasana here, I'm just ending with a brief meditation. Keep your eyes closed, focusing in on your breath. Take a moment to scan through your body, from your head all the way down to your fingers and to your toes. Noticing how you feel now, as opposed to when you first stepped onto the mat. Observing what has changed and shifted as a result of your practice. Just 20 minutes of yoga can have a profound effect on our physical, mental, and emotional health. Really thank your body. Show yourself some gratitude. And you can join your hands together at the front of the heart, Anjali Mudra. Bowing forward. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing this short flexibility flow with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and we'll practice again together soon.